Hello, welcome to Lore Master's Lair. I am your Lore Master, here for the beginning of our 2-month event on everything paranormal and unexplainable. Welcome to my Dark Archives, in celebration of the Dark Archives. We start today with the groups who deal directly with the darkness in order to fulfill their own shadowy agendas. Or is that truly what they are? Let us look at the secrets of secret societies, and potentially talk about groups we will see more of in upcoming books. First, a peek at the real world. A secret society is an organization who hides part of itself from the public. That's it. Well, it usually does not include intelligence groups and only describes social clubs. One also usually claims to hold secrets, whether it actually does or not, and usually has the members favor each other in daily life, which is why those in high positions like them, an excuse to scratch each other's backs. Some secret societies were military groups, organizing a power base across the country or continent as revolutionaries or counter-revolutionaries. 90% of the time, they were just gentlemen's clubs, ones whose purpose is simply to feel special. Sometimes they consider themselves masters of the occult. In this case, I mean real-world occult, which are ideas and practices based on mistaken ideas from the 19th century, created when people in high society borrowed ideas they knew little about and made systems based on their faulty research. Love it in fiction, though. Of course, the fact that they are by themselves defined as mysterious has led to them becoming a cult topic, which is why some people talk about a group of rich layabouts originally from Bavaria now being apparently secret rulers of the world. Watch out for triangles. People. Anyway. Now with the real world out of the way, let's look at the secret societies of Golarion, one by one. Or at least a list of them, taken from the book Occult Mysteries specifically. To start off, let's look at one of the oldest that we know of. The Knights of the Iron Star. Atlantean society was filled with assassinations and intrigue, and these guards to the throne were established as protectors of the Throne of Glass. As corruption began to spread throughout the kingdom, many of these groups left to find the prophesied last Atlante in order to have him take the throne away from pretenders. This allowed a few of their order to survive Earthfall. So when Aroden rose, the knights found the Lord, and in the early years of Aroden's rule, when he was still walking among mortals, served him directly. Meanwhile, another group never believed Aroden was the last Atlante, instead working in secret to find any hidden lore they could to restore their lost kingdom. As one might expect, the former faded away after Aroden's death, but the latter has become an entrenched secret society, masters of occult knowledge, both the one answer they are looking for and eluding them. Of course, you always get those who believe themselves as the last Atlante and try to gain power over the entire order. But these delusional power grabs usually do not survive long. Next, we have a couple of societies we've talked about before. First is the Anaphaxia. Short story. A group of Pharasman worshippers established a monastery in the remote mountains of Uslov. Then one day, to protect their separation from the outside world, they turned away a woman and sick child who their endless libraries had the power to save. The boy died, and the mother wanted revenge. And she got it, by converting to Nurgaber's faith and using her resources to stage the murder of the entire monastery. However, other members of the group saw the large, secret libraries of the monastery and decided it was too important with too many secrets to just be left alone. And so the group of Nogobites, known as the Anaphaxia, took the monastery, disguised themselves as the former occupants, and kept the library to themselves. While stealing more secrets from across the region and killing those whose continued life is inconvenient to their deity. They even use magic to cut out the tongues and regrow them whenever they leave, so secrets may never escape their lips. Also from Ustalav, we have the historic order of the Palatine Eye. This is reflective of what most secret societies are. Some rich kid goes to the land of an ancient empire, in this case Assyrian, and claims to have been taught ancient secrets by a millennia-old wise man. In this case, the legendary angel Tibris the Chronicler. He comes back and starts a group whose purpose is to walk down the steps of knowledge to eventually reach the depths of hidden knowledge, using rituals, using iconography of old empires, misused and only partially understood. In short, the Palatine Eye is closest to the half-baked attempts at occult groups in real life, with one notable exception. In fiction, occultic powers are actually real, and if you dabble into the occult, you eventually run into the actual thing. Which is how the Palatine Eye reached its current height. Not because of some historic secret only findable by those who reach the deepest depths, but because their game placed them in life and death situations, and they have lived enough to not only learn a few actual ancient secrets, but also become one of the premier organizations when it comes to countering those who try to unleash secrets of centuries untold. Though they still might be biting off more than they can chew. The recent book Knights of Lastwall hinting that the Palatine Eye has cut contact with other organizations, likely meaning they are currently dealing with a dark secret more dangerous to the world than the Whispering Tyrant himself. I cannot wait to see that adventure path. Next is something else we discussed before, but briefly, and this branch specifically was not mentioned. Conference Z, the Secret Science Division of the Apsis Consortium. This group, referred to as Inter-Branch Directive 1111, was formed secretly by one of the organization's three founders, and has had one of the three hold the knowledge secretly ever since. Mostly just so that the top doesn't forget that the conference needs continued funding. The organization works in separate cells, with only the conference's head having knowledge of the entire breadth of the organization. Most who work for the conference might not even realize they work for the conference, except for a few managers with Electrum-level access. As for what Conference Z does, it studies. The cells each investigate something beyond the understanding of the common man, from hypnosis, to cryptozoology, to immortality, to bringing back prophecy. Honestly, the upcoming book could as well have been based on Conference Z instead of the Dark Archives. And there will be an organization I will be most surprised if I do not see in there. From one we missed talking about, to one that we tend to avoid talking about. The Church of Razmir. The Church works in the same way as the secret society does. Only they are working under the assumption their central figure is a deity, and moving towards the center gives one deep religious knowledge. Hello, New Age religions. I'm going to be hunted down. Anyway, they also work under the idea of steps, with one eventually working their way to serving at their God's foot. It should be noted that those who start the journey become different people than they were before they became priests, which reads to me like mind control, but don't have actual proof of such yet. In actuality, this is an interesting one because it intersects with what we think of as a cult and what we think of as a secret society. Regardless, this is one society with a pretty open secret, that Razmir is not actually a deity and instead is a fake god. However, to even apply this around the faithful ends poorly. Next, we have a more recent addition to the list of secret societies, the Harbingers of Fate. So, short story. Eredin was a god. People loved him. He died. And with him, died prophecy. The 5 stages of grief suck, and if you do not have adequate emotional support, it is easy to get stuck on one, like denial. Well, mix denial with the 1000 Whispers, a book of prophecies which ranges from a couple years before Eredin's death to 108 years afterwards, and we have desperate people claiming these increasingly nonsensical prophecies are the true history. And if they are able to make one single prediction actually come true, the precious God will return to them. And so the Harbingers of Fate try to save their world by manipulating people's lives. And they have become increasingly desperate to get a single, solitary prophecy to come true. Of course, it should also be noted the last date of their mission was in the middle of 1E's timeline. As for the end of their mission, and if it does still continue, even after the time is up, maybe we will hear something in the Dark Archives. We can hope. Next, we are going out of our comfort zone and out of the Inner Sea region, and to Tianxie, with the Way of the Kirin. During the rule of the Longhua Empire, it was a private military organization, posing as a mercantile one. They used their assumed position to fight against corrupt individuals of their home nation, sometimes with blades when it was called for. When the nation eventually collapsed, their enemies made their move, hoping to kill off the do-gooders. But all they did was drive the way into the shadows. The organization has vast resources it has amassed over the years, but it knows it needs to pick its battles smartly in order to keep the past from repeating, especially since it currently lacks a central head to the organization. Therefore, they keep their names unknown while working as forces of diplomacy, and if necessary, intimidation, to keep corruption at a minimum and the common man living. Because not all who keep secrets are evil, or frat boys. And that brings us to the final secret side of the day, and the biggest one in my opinion, the Night Heralds. The Night Heralds, to many, are just strange people in pale cloaks who follow a weird religion. In reality, they are worshippers of the end of the world, specifically of the Dominion of Black, who they are well aware are not deities. The Dominion seeks to turn all flesh in the universe into a useful resource for themselves, the end goal of their conquests being unknown. And the Night Heralds believe the world is already doomed, so the best thing to do is help the coming apocalypse, so they are allowed to be the first to die. They are a shadowy threat, but a common one, especially since the Dominion has shown up a few times in 2E already. Will they return again soon? Well, no, that has already been directly answered by the creators, that they do not want to overuse the Dominion. But I could see them pulling off 1 or 2 more stories this edition, especially for some big world-changing events. And that is today's video, and the beginning of our occult adventures. Which of these societies will make an appearance in the upcoming Dark Archives? And which entirely new organizations will grace us? That we will just have to wait and see. For now, I have a bit of a Shadowy God video to get ready for. Hope you come back next week to learn their secrets.